All right, and good day, everyone, and welcome to today's session of Truly Foundation and A Course in Miracles with your host, Oliver Blue. I will be your temporary guide, your temporary teacher, your temporary coach for today, and I am so excited. I am so happy. Why is that? Because I know something. I know something, and that which I know I have embodied. And that which I have embodied is that which I share, is that which I express. And what I know is that love is always shining. What I know is love has forgotten no one. What I know is that there is only the one. And so I can stop right there and we can have a benediction and we can call it done. But I'm going to add a little more to that. I just want to start off with that. Love is always shining. Who we are is always shining. Who God is always shining. And we are the embodiment of that. We are the person of that in form. Mm. That is the truth. That is true always. And so with that said, we're going to jump right into workbook lesson 266 out of our resource book, A Course in Miracles. Lesson 266, that's on page 428 if you happen to be following along. And in today's lesson, it introduces another idea that's built on every other idea. We've been building this consciousness, this awareness. And it has lifted us to a frequency, or how can I say it? It has lifted us to a level of vibration that is pulsating and having a grand impact, not only on you and me, but in this community, but all around the world. As we hold these thoughts, these ideas, we hold them until all humanity is able to hold them for themselves. Because there's only the one self. And that is the I am. And so today's idea states, my holy self speaks to all of us. My holy self speaks to God, as well as all that God has created. Because there's only one self. When I say there's only one self, what I'm saying is there is only one life. In this one life, we all share equally. So my holy self, that word holy just refers to the wholeness and the completeness of this one self, of this one life, of this one being. The I am, the God is. It's only the one self. It's like there's only the one sun, but there's many beings that emanate from the one sun. Each being appears momentarily to be an individual energy in and of itself, but it's not. You ever notice that the sun beings always retract back into the one sun? There is one ocean. But there's continuous waves that comes into the shore as though they are individual waves separate from the ocean, but they're not. You notice that every wave retracts back into the depth of the ocean. Likewise, there's only one reality. There's only one life. There's only one being. There's only one self. And we use limited words like God is to define that one self. Or we use words like I am to identify that one self. But in reality, there is only the one. There's only the one source of everything. And it appears, as we appear on this dimension, in individuated forms, that we're separate from that one source. But in reality, we're not. Not only are we not separate, but we're not divided. That only happens in a mind that has gone astray. That's only happened in a mind that tries to make multiplicity out of the one, and it's impossible. But in reality, there's only one being, one life, one love, and we are part of that. We are a part of that. We are that. With God. It's not as something separate, but we are part of that as oneness joined as one. And so my holy self refers to our one reality. And it says it abides, or it remains in you. And then it says, we describe that as what? God's Son, or God's creation, or Christ, or oneness. There is no separation. As much as we have been highly trained that there is none. It only happens in the mind that is not seeing correctly. It's only the one. And so my holy self abides in you, God's Son. That means that this one self is every self. And so in this dimensional world that we find ourselves in, where there appears to be what? Multiplicity. There appear to be billions of beings separate from one another. There's only the one. And that is the purpose in which we have to renew. We have to transform our thinking, renew our mind, so that we see clearly, so that we see with the mind of God, with the eyes of Christ, that we understand what it means that all things have been reconciled back into the one thing, and that all things are the one thing. This is the transformation. This is the training. This is the shift in perception that is needed for us to experience the peace, experience the joy and the love and the happiness that we share. It comes through understanding. It comes through an expanded awareness. It comes through Christ consciousness. So we have to allow this thinking, or allow this mind to be in you. That was also in Jesus of Nazareth. And this is the way he thought. This is the way he understood. And that's why he was able to accomplish what he accomplished in the day, in the moment, In the instant that you embrace this correct, true perception of yourself and of your creator and of all creation, is the day that you enter into peace and enter into rest and quit laboring from a false perception. Quit suffering from self-inflicted ideas that throws us all off balance. And so today, the idea is that our one self, the oneness that we share, it abides in all the seemingly separate selves. The face of Christ is in everyone. Depends on who's looking. And he said, all of this is God's Son. All of this is heaven. All of this is the kingdom. All of this is our oneness that we share. So let's see what the lesson says. And it starts out with a prayerful declaration. And it says, Father, the one Father, you gave me your Son, or you gave me yourself, or you gave me your creation. You gave me your Son. There's only one Son. It says you gave me your sons, but in reality, we're not talking about sons plural, but the one Son. You gave that to me to be my saviors. So it's talking on two levels here. It's talking on the level of perception. It's talking on the level of reality. It says on the level of perception, you gave us this Holy Son to be the saviors and my counselors in sight, in form. So all humanity is representative of the one self. And God gave us this this perception, or this true perception, or how can I say it, that God has repurposed the idea of the multiplicity of bodies and what it stands for. It says that each body becomes a savior to each other. That every body becomes a savior to ourselves. Why? Because we can see within that which appears to be separate, we see ourselves, because there's only the one self. And so they become what? Saviors and counselors in sight, the bearers of your holy voice to me. So within all humanity, there's an element that they are our saviors. They are a reminder to ourselves that we're one when we're looking through the mind of Christ. It says, in them are you reflected. So when we understand the reality of our oneness, we understand that in this perceptual world, when we encounter another self, another being, that it is the reflection of God, it is the counsel of God, it is the Savior of God that is within that being. It says, you are reflected, and in them does Christ look back upon me from my true self. Let not your Son forget your holy name. What is your holy name? I am. Let not your Son forget his holy source. His holy source is God is. Let not your Son forget his name is yours, or his name is your name. So God's name is the I am. Your name is I am. Let us not forget that. Why? Because there's only one of us. We share the same being. We share the same self. And so when we look into the eyes of another, when we look into the face of another, he said, if you're looking through the eyes of Christ, you can only see your true self. and not a limited, impersonal self, a frail self, a sad self, a broken self, a disillusioned self. But you see through the eyes of God, and it reflects back to you the one self that we all share. The Course says that Jesus saw the face of Christ in every human being and remembered God. How was he able to see the face of Christ in every human being? Because he was looking through and from that one self. He was looking from the God reality. He was looking from it. And so what reflected back to him is the one self that we all share. When you embrace and accept for yourself, but there's only the one of us. And that one of us is the all of us. And that all of us is the one of us. And so what you really see now is that you see yourself in everyone. You see the face of Christ in everyone. Because you're not looking through the eyes of the ego thought system. You're not looking through the eyes of separation. You're not looking through the eyes of falsity. But you have awakened. You have recognized. You have been enlightened to the truth that is true always. And so what you don't see is a body. What you don't see is limitation, but what you see is a reflection of God's love shining back to us. Why? Because you are projecting that love out. And the world will shine it back to you. That's how it works. You say, Oliver, this sounds like a mind game. No, this is not a mind game. This is reality. Test it. Try it. To see if it be of reality. See if it be the truth that is true always. Begin to see humanity, all humanity, as your very own self. Begin to see humanity and all humanity as God. Regardless of what it's doing or being or saying, or how it smells. We're talking about going beyond your perceptual senses. And seeing from the purity of your own reality. To where when the pure looks, it waits and it judges not, but it sees only its pure self. To the pure, all things appear. Like we said earlier. To the pure, all things appear. And so we see humanity from a point of view of its loveliness, the loveliness that we share, because we're seeing from the one source, the source of love. And we're no longer what? Conform to this world, but we have been transformed by the renewing of our minds. And we see God everywhere. We see light everywhere. We see love everywhere. We see creation's gentleness, as we spoke about on yesterday. In quiet would I look upon the world, which but reflects your thoughts, the thoughts of God, your mind, the mind of Christ as well. So, this day, we enter into what? Paradise. What is paradise? It's not a place. It's a reality. We look what? Into paradise. We look into the eyes of ourself when we look into the eyes of our brother. The course here is called we look into paradise. Calling upon God's name, calling upon the I am, and on our own, acknowledging our one self in each of us, acknowledging our true self in each of us, united in the holy love of God. United, not separated, but united in what? The holy love of God. How many saviors God has given us? Everyone, every other person you meet is a savior that God has given you to practice, to look upon the reality of the one self. Every human being. But we have been trained and overly trained that what we see is a separate self. But now that's why we're taking this course in perception, this course in true perception, this course in forgiveness, this course in miracles. So what is the miracle? When we shift our perception from that of separation to that of oneness, that is the miracle. It's just a slight shift, a slight pivot, a slight adjustment in our thinking. We let go of the falsehood. We let go of the belief in separation. We let go of what we made. We let go of all the historical falsity. We let go of all the hand-me-down ideas that has kept us in prison. And when we let that go, all that is left is the will of God. All that is left is what was there all the ways. All that is left, once the block to the awareness of love's presence is removed, is love's presence, pure presence, paradise, our true reality. And so everyone now, as we walk into this place, we walk together. We're all headed back to the home where we have never left in reality. Some are going back staggering, some are going back confused, broken, saddened. But that's only in a dreamlike state. But God guarantees that all of us will return as one. All of us will return as the one self. So rejoice and be glad. Don't let the special effects of birth and death, scarcity, fear, unbelief, loss, death, the multiplicity of options, don't let it bamboozle you. Don't let this world con you anymore. But we are we're moved from that place to another. And the place that we're moved to is the place that we've always been. And that is what it calls it paradise, the heart of God. We wake up from the dream. And so how can we lose the way? How can we lose our way back home? How can we lose our spot in the heart of God? We can't. It says, when God has filled the world with those who point to him, he said, everyone points to God. When you look in the face of all humanity, you see the face of Christ. You see the mark of God. He said, how can you not find your way? Everyone becomes a signpost. Everyone becomes a affirmation of our oneness. But can you see that way? Do you see that way? Or do you see people as a what? As a getting in your way? Do you see people as a nuisance? But every one of us is a symbol of the one of us, either calling out for love or walking in love. We are either walking in this light or we're calling out for the light. Which role are you playing? Are you walking in the light? Are you being the light of the world? Are you being the savior of the world? Or are you calling out for love because you sense that you're lost and you see what you see is a brokenness? What you see is a dismantling. When you walk in the light, all you see is the reality of the knowledge of the truth of the one law, of the law of love that is unchangeable and eternal and unambiguous and that is only recognized when we embrace this for ourselves. We see everything that God created as one. We see that this goes beyond this world's learning. It goes beyond time and space. It has no opposite. It has no beginning and no end. It merely is. It merely is. Reality merely is. And it's recognizable right now. When we embrace that our holy self abides in every self, even in God. So how can we lose the way to Him when He has filled the world with those who point to Him and given us the sight to look on them? So as we look on all humanity today and every day for the rest of our days, we have come to the understanding that this one holy self abides in every self. We are oneness joined as one. And so let us, from a pure heart, from a renewed mind, see only love, teach only love, embody only love, because love is what we all are. Love is what we all are. It's who we all are. And so it is. God is. Therefore, I am. You are one. And we celebrate that oneness today. As we acknowledge, we namaste everyone that we come in contact with today. Namaste means the divine in me recognizes what? The divine in you. And it's the same divinity. It's the one self that we share. This is the mind of God. This is the thinking that is required for us to enter into the rest that God has called us into. It comes through true perception. It comes through Christ consciousness. It comes through the mind of God. Thank you so much. This is Workbook Lesson 266, and it was a doozy. Come back on tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye-bye.